So welcome everybody to this latest video on 162 Maths, and in this video we'll be continuing with the theme of AQA GCSE Maths Foundation topic test with the focus of indices. Now as always there'll be a copy of the test paper in the description below for you either to have an attempt at before watching this video or while watching as we go through the answers. Now it's worth mentioning before we get started that the first part of this test is calculator questions, and the section B is going to be non-calculator. So let's get started. So looking at question 1, it says what whole number power of 2 is 1024. So what the question is asking us is to do 2 to the power of what, and let's put a little question mark in there, equals 1024. So on our calculator all we need to do is simply just guess random power, not random, try and do it systematically. So 2 to the power 8, that's too small. 2 to the power of 9 is too small. 2 to the power of 10, and bingo, we've got our answer. So here it's going to be 2 to the power of 10, or you could write the answer as being 10. Question 2, it says circle the number that is a power of 7, and the correct answer you should have is 343, and that is 7 cubed. For question 3, it says use your calculator to work out. So what we do is set up our calculator. It should load up anytime now. Yep. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to enter this exactly how it's given in the question. So I press my fraction button, press the square root, and I've got 33.64. Scroll down, and then 19.8 plus 9.2. And just double check to make sure your screen looks exactly what's on your calculator. Press equals, comes up as a fifth, and so I can either write an answer as 1/5 or 0.2. For question 3b, it says, let's go with that cursor, it says how much less is 1000 is 9.8 cubed. So what we need to do is work out what 9.8 cubed is first. So again, we can do that on our calculator, in which we get an answer of 941.192. And from this, what we then need to do is do 1000 take away 941.192, and you should end up with an answer of 58.808. Now, it doesn't mention anything about rounding, so I'm going to leave my answer like that. Moving on to question 4, it says work out 2 to the power 7. Now this should be a little times, so let me just change that to a times. So work out 2 to the power 7 times 3 to the power 5 over 6 to the power of 3. So for this, again, using the calculator, using the power function, so 2 to the power of 7, roll across, times 3 to the power of 5. Now it's always worth just making sure that you do scroll across and just double check your numbers and make sure it does come out exactly how you want it to. And then 6 to the power of 3 equals, and again, answer of 144. For question 5a says write 11 to the power of 20 divided by 11 to the power of 4. So here what I need to do is take away the powers. So it's going to be 11 to the power of 20 minus 4, which is 11 to the power of 16. Then for question B, it says write 4 to the power of 5 as a single power of 2. Now this one, what we need to do is change the 4 to a power of 2. So that's 2 squared. And then I incorporate brackets, and then I've got 5. So that there is exactly the same as 4 to the power of 5. So this base number I've just written as a power of 2. Now the rule with indices when you've got brackets is to multiply the powers. So that's 2 times to the power, 2 to the power of 2 times 5. That then gives us a final answer of 2 to the power of 10. Then moving on to question 6, it says write 91 as a sum of 2 cube numbers. Now in terms of cube numbers, let's just quickly write them down. So we've got 1 cubed is 1, 2 cubed is 8, 3 cubed is 27, 4 cubed is 64, 5 cubed is 125. I want to pick 2 of these numbers where the sum, where they add them up, equals 91. So that's going to be 27 plus 64, or I could write the answer as 3 cubed plus 4 cubed. There we go. Moving on to question 7, it says that Raj and his sister Zia are both at secondary school. Raj is 3 years older than Zia. The sum of the squares of their ages is 369, and the question is asking to work out how old they are. Now, with them both being in secondary school, assuming that neither have been held back or been moved up, because they're quite brainy, the ages are going to be either 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. Now, again, remember that there is a difference of 3 years. So here, starting with the first number, let's go for 10 squared. Sorry, not 10 squared, 11 squared rather. 11 squared plus, and then if I add 3 to 11, I get 14. So that's going to be 14 squared. And if I work that number out, I get an answer of 317. So that's not going to be right. So let's try the next age up. So let's go for 12 squared plus 15 squared. And if I enter that on the calculator, I do actually get 369. So the ages of the two people. Now again, Raj is the older person. So he's going to be 15 and Zia is going to be 12. Then moving on to B, so this is where we move on to the non-calculator questions. It says that circle the number that is one more than a cube number. So here, if I take away 1 from each of these numbers, and from those pink numbers, I'm looking at which of those is a cube number. And 64 is a cube number, so the correct answer we should have is going to be circling 65. Question 9, it says circle the number that is not a whole number power of 3. And the correct answer you should have is going to be 18. Next question, it says write down the value of the square root of 196, and you should know that as being 14. And then for question 11, it says work out the square root of 2 to the power 4 plus 3 squared. So it's the square root of 2 to the power 4, so that's 2, 4, 8, 16, plus 3 squared, which is 9. And 9 plus 16 is 25, so it's the square root of 25, which gives us a final answer of 5. And moving on to the last part of questions, we're looking at question 12, which says write the square root of 1 million as a power of 10. The square root of 1 million is going to be, well, it's going to be 1,000. And then what we then need to do is write this as the power of 10. So 10 to the power of what? How many 10s do you need to multiply together to get 1,000? Well, 10 squared is 100 times 10 is 1,000. So the answer then is going to be 10 cubed. Question 13, it says solve the equation. So for this, we need to take the 1 over to the side by adding 1. That becomes x squared equals 49. And so here we want a square root. So x can either equal minus 7 or positive 7. Or you could write your answer as this, and that would be absolutely fine. If you wrote 7 and minus 7, that would be fine as well. Then moving on to question 14, which is more of our proof problem solving question. It says Tina says the difference between any two consecutive square numbers is always odd. Is she correct? Well, let's have a look at two consecutive numbers. Now, any two consecutive numbers is either going to start with an odd number and then an even number, or the other way around. So it could be odd or even. Now, if I square an odd number, so an odd number squared, well, that's kind of like 3 squared, 5 squared, 9 squared, 7 squared. They always give me an odd number. And if I square an even number, then that's going to give me an even number answer. So here then, if I have an odd number squared plus an even number squared, then that's going to equal, well, this is going to be odd, and this is always going to be even. And change that plus to a minus because we're working out the difference. And so therefore, it's going to always be an odd number, take away an even number, is always going to give me an odd answer. Now, if I went the other way around, so let's say we did an even number squared minus an odd number squared, well, that's still going to be even, take away odd. And if I take an odd number away from an even number, that's also going to be odd as well. So it doesn't really matter whether I start with an odd number or an even number. When I square both numbers and work out the difference, the answer is always going to be odd. So Tina is correct.